everybody. Welcome to Macroeconomics Basics from A to Z. So, this is lecture number 2, part 4. So, we've already talked about what economics is, what macroeconomics is, all the four sectors of an economy, and the four factors of production. Now, we are talking about circular flow of income. Alright, so what is circular flow of income? So, circular flow of income is the intersection between real flow and monetary flow. Now, what is real flow? So, real flow is the flow of all the goods and services between different sectors of an economy, whereas monetary flow is, or money flow is the flow of money between different sectors of an economy. For example, if there is a labor, if there is a farmer who wants to render its labor services to a firm, right? And in exchange of goods and services that he's going to receive will be our real flow, versus when we talk about monetary flow, so it is the income of labor, that is wages that he's going to get or receive, and the payment that he's going to make of the goods and services that he has used, right? Okay, so now let's talk about the importance of circular flow of income. So it helps in the determination of total output, total economic activities, total distribution, flow to and from each sector, right? It also helps in calculating or determining the injections and the leakages done to and from the economy, and its impact which has happened in the economy. Now let's take a case study. So here we're gonna determine the importance of entrepreneurial spirit and innovation, okay, which leads to the development of an economy. Okay, so let's take an example of China. So China is a dictator country where people's feedback has a lot of loopholes, and feedbacks does not really get stored, right? And in a democracy like India, where a politician would say, okay, I do not have to please 50% of the people, so I have to work hard. No, that's not my country. So I just have to please 20% of the people, and then even then I'm gonna win and run the government. Why? Because only 60% of the people vote. Okay, so India is a country which got democracy before development. So if anybody asks ki, oh, to the government ki, oh, I want part of resources, so they can say ki, okay, let me develop state capacity first and then I will provide you with resources. No, but that's not what happens. So all the political leaders have to get elected every 5 years, right? And they want bank politics, which is also known as Clinton. All right. So they are not concerned about developing India's state capacity, but what they want are votes. Now, what is there is one note that I would like to tell you. For example, the government has, for example, in Rajasthan, the government in past year's elections, the government has distributed mobile phones to those who cannot afford it, smartphones, right? Okay, so the smartphones that were distributed, no productive activity was done against it, right? So they were not the part of private final government expenditure, but they were the part of transfer payments, because there were nothing was paid in return of those of the money that was spent by the government in providing mobile phones to the people. All right. Okay. Now, जो government है, they just have to please 20% people in India. So who are they gonna approach? So they are landlords, bureaucrats, caste group heads, and they will please labor union or trade union leaders, not the laborers, and caste group heads and not the laborers, right? Whereas in China there is dictatorship, and it was very high during Mao's regime from 1958 to 1970, and it is also known as the communist regime. So the government started later decentralizing the government, and there emerged a competition between mayors, and that's how village enterprises were created, and that's how China started growing. Okay, but still in China there is no incentive to innovate. So whatever invention or innovation uh, America and Germany does, China copies them. For example, the smartphone industries and etc., and the creation of special economic zones and etc., which gives them growth. So they are not the initiators; they are the imitators, right? So why does India not doesn't innovate much? Because private sector should be provided with the incentive to innovate, where in India it does not, right? And is it good to be a dictatorship and have a growth like China? No, because in dictatorship growth is not guaranteed. For example, during Mao's regime there was no growth, right? Also, there is no incentive to innovate in a dictator country like China, but there is in a country like India, but we do not use it. That's the difference. So for that, we have to develop our state capacity, using two major questions. So first is, what are the targets that we're going to settle for, and what are the achievements regarding the state capacity of our country. And India fails in that. India does not counter its achievements, right? Why? Because politicians are aware of this state capacity thing, and what they care about is getting their votes, right? Okay. So now for innovation, entrepreneurship is needed, and for that, human activities are is needed to be arranged so that they can organize all the four factors of production. So the countries like dictatorship countries has less entrepreneurial spirit, and the countries who are democratic but with less state capacity, I'm sorry, are also less entrepreneurial. Now, innovations and inventions, they are key features which happens when you let the people think independently, and you have to give them case studies. You have to let them think in depth. You have to be test them on the basis of their analytical skills, not on the basis of their memory skills. And they should also take risk taking abilities, right? Now there's a topic that knowledge intelligence is different from consciousness. For example, there's a conscious driver, so it will drive safely. Now we are aware that we should drive safely, but we just have knowledge, right? So we can hit into somebody. And intelligent people, they just drive कि मुझे ड्राइव करना आता है और मैं ड्राइव कर सकता हूँ, है ना? और मेरे अंदर ठीक है, ओके. Now India has intelligence but without any consciousness. Now machines also do not have consciousness. Conscious का मतलब कि what should we do and what shouldn't we do, right? So अगर उनके पास ये होता, machines के पास consciousness कैसे आएगी? अगर humans feed them consciousness on the basis of their experiences, right? That's all for this class. Thank you.